that's exactly the tension that you mentioned between the convenience it would bring if the platform overtook some of these functions, but also that loss of agency and control. Um, so I think there are two things that I worry about with platforms taking over some of these, integrating more driver knowledge into their algorithms. One is the de-skilling that happens. So right now, sort of drivers are have sort of more even value because drivers who come who from Jakarta, who kind of really know their zones really well, are able to do their work better, versus drivers who might come out of Jakarta. So there is some kind of skill level and professional skill level that's associated with this work. So what happens when platforms are able to accumulate all of that knowledge and use that for extract all of that knowledge and sort of use that for their own profits. I don't know. I would be concerned about that. The other thing with the loss of agency, I think, is so important. So the thing that I think about one of my favorite examples in this space is drivers in Jakarta. Have figured out these like kind of tricks to get around, to make their work easier. One of them is there's this like huge market of modified apps that comes out, that exists. So one of the features that one of these modified apps had used to be called like it was like automatic bidding. Bidding is what drivers call waiting for an order to kind of show the urgency with which they like bid for something. And Go-Jek actually eventually like realized that this is a great feature and developed it into their platform. So in some ways, Go-Jek was responsive to drivers, and that was great. But that also meant that drivers didn't have agency over, when they could use it and who was using it. Sometimes Go-Jek has launched features on their platform that are a direct response to things drivers want, but then suddenly without explanation, those features just disappear and never come back again once Go-Jek realizes that this doesn't work for them, which, like their company, they're sort of like look out for their own profit, and like they have their own optimizations and metrics for what a healthy marketplace looks like. But that does mean that drivers don't then have control over how they use certain features, when they use them, who uses them, what's the impact of the use of those features on other metrics. So for example, now drivers complain that they feel, and there's no way to verify this, they feel that drivers since Go-Jek has launched that auto bid feature, drivers who don't use auto bid actually are being penalized by not being matched by a lot of orders. And because the kind of algorithmic matching systems are so opaque, there's no way to either tell drivers, no, actually that's not true, and have them believe you, or actually verify this and say this is a problem. Similarly with Grab, I guess, intervening in this solidarity, spatially rooted solidarity systems that drivers have created by launching their own shelters. On one hand, this is great because drivers now, the burden of creating these safe and comfortable spaces to rest in has been lifted from drivers, and Grab is providing coffee and electricity and a place to charge, a place to charge your phones, a place to rest, a place to safely park your motorbikes, and a place to hang out with your friends. That's all great. But because Grab is the one managing these shelters, there are very particular rules about what can be worn there, how much time you can spend there, when it closes and when it opens, what do you do with your phones and your apps in those spaces. There's sort of like driver management there that's actually partnered with Grab. So, is everything that you talk about there safe? And is it a safe space for drivers? And those are sort of questions that right now I think are playing out, and I don't know how they'll play out. So there's still, this was happening while I was there. So, like 4 years down the line, would we see basically just Grab shelters and no independent driver shelters? I don't know. And what would that mean for the kinds of and forms of solidarity that drivers are able to form in Jakarta? So those are sort of open questions of what happens when a platform intervenes in these, tries to respond to and interacts with existing driver strategies of managing work.